I almost didn't notice the first one. I had 17 unheard voicemails that week and was clearing them on a Tuesday evening when I heard my own voice. Not a recording I'd made deliberately, just my voice mid-conversation, the way it sounds when you're not thinking about how you sound. Me and my wife Ellen talking about her mother's health, a difficult conversation we'd had in the kitchen 10 days earlier. The voicemail was 40 seconds long and cut off mid-sentence. The number showed as unknown. I played it 3 times in the hallway, then went and found Ellen and played it for her. She asked if I'd accidentally pocket recorded it somehow. I showed her the incoming call log. Unknown number, 3:17 a.m., 9 days ago, received while I was asleep. We called the carrier. They confirmed the call came from a spoofed number, origin untraceable, they said, as if this were an acceptable thing to tell a person. I changed my number 2 days later. The following week another voicemail arrived on the new number. Ellen and I at dinner, talking about a leak in the basement. I remembered the conversation because I'd made a joke that hadn't landed and we'd eaten the rest of the meal in mild silence. The recording caught all of it. My flat joke. The silence after. The sound of silverware. I bought an RF detector and swept every room. Found nothing. Hired a professional the following week, a security consultant who went through the house for 3 hours with equipment that cost more than my car. He checked smoke detectors, outlets, every vent cover. Nothing. No transmitters, no devices of any kind that shouldn't be there. The voicemails kept coming. Every week, sometimes twice, always between 2 and 4 a.m., always conversations from inside the house, always recent. A discussion with my brother who'd visited for a weekend. An argument Ellen and I had in the bedroom about money, private and ugly, the kind you'd be grateful to forget. All of it arriving in my voicemail like someone's way of reminding me they were listening. I went to the police after the 6th one. A detective named Carver took copies and said the spoofing made tracing difficult but not impossible. He asked about estranged family, workplace conflicts, anyone with a reason. I had nothing that felt adequate. Ellen and I stopped talking freely inside the house. We moved difficult conversations to the car, to walks around the block, to a diner booth 3 neighborhoods over. We whispered in our own bedroom. It felt absurd and then it stopped feeling absurd, and that transition was its own kind of loss. Carver called 6 weeks later. They had a name, a man who'd lived 2 doors down until 8 months ago, moved away after a noise dispute that had turned ugly, background in network security. Carver said they were building a case. He said to keep saving the voicemails. He said it in the careful way people manage expectations without extinguishing hope. The voicemails stopped after that. The case was referred to the prosecutor, but the technical complexity made it slow. It's still slow. We sold the house last spring and I didn't tell the new owners what had happened there because I don't know exactly what happened there. The professional sweep found nothing. No clean explanation for how a house could be recorded without a device inside it. What I think about isn't the how. It's the listening. Someone sitting somewhere with headphones on, patient and deliberate, hearing us argue about money and worry about family and make jokes that didn't land. All the ordinary noise of a life, heard and recorded and sent back so I'd know. That's what stays with me. Not the violation of the house. The violation of the assumption that words spoken in your own home in the small hours belong only to you. I don't make that assumption anymore. I only checked the old footage because of the dog. Marcy had been acting strange for about 3 weeks, refusing to go upstairs at night, planting herself at the bottom of the staircase and whining at nothing visible. She was 8 and had never done anything like it. My wife chalked it up to age. I chalked it up to age. But after the 3rd week I found myself thinking about the security system we'd installed 2 years ago and never really used, the cameras covering the living room, the kitchen, the upstairs hallway. I pulled up the hallway footage on a Sunday afternoon while Paula was out. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was doing the thing people do when an animal's behavior bothers them and they can't explain why, reaching for evidence to confirm that nothing is wrong. The camera covered the hallway from the top of the stairs to the linen closet at the far end, including the doorways to the bathroom and our bedroom. I scrubbed through a week of footage at high speed, watching the empty hallway flicker past, the automatic night light casting everything in low amber. Normal. Empty. The same dim corridor every night. On the fourth night back I slowed down. The timestamp read 2:08 a.m. The hallway was empty in the frame, but the bedroom door, which we always sleep with partially open, was moving. Slowly, incrementally, swinging inward. No draft. No sound I could identify. I watched it open about 18 inches and stop. Then, after perhaps 2 minutes, it swung back to its original position. I sat forward and watched it 3 more times. The door moved. Nothing visible moved it. I scrubbed back further. 5th night, 6th, 7th. The same thing, within 20 minutes of the same time, the bedroom door moving open and then returning. 8 nights in a row before I'd started looking. I sat back in my chair and tried to construct an explanation that involved settling foundations or air pressure or the way old houses breathe. I tried hard. I couldn't get there. The camera angle was the problem. It covered the hallway, but the bedroom doorway sat at the edge of the frame, and whoever or whatever was pushing that door was doing so from inside the room, just out of view. Just beyond the camera's reach. If I hadn't been looking for it, I wouldn't have caught the door at all. It would have just been an empty hallway doing nothing. I called a security company the next morning and had 2 additional cameras installed, one in the bedroom itself, one covering the exterior of the house. The installer walked me through the system, showed me the new angles, and left me with better coverage and no real peace of mind. I didn't tell Paula yet. I don't fully know why. Something about not wanting to say it out loud before I understood it. The new bedroom camera ran for 5 nights without incident. The door didn't move. I started to feel the particular embarrassment of someone who has paid money to confirm that nothing is wrong. On the 6th night I almost didn't check the footage at all. I checked it. At 2:11 a.m. the bedroom camera showed the room as it always looked, dark, quiet, Paula asleep on her side, the dresser and closet and chair in their usual positions. Then at the edge of the frame, the far left corner where the ceiling met the wall, a shadow shifted. Not dramatically, not the movement of someone crossing the room. Just a change in the quality of darkness in that corner, like something that had been very still deciding to become stiller. It lasted perhaps 4 seconds and then it was just the dark corner of a bedroom again. I watched it 6 times. I woke Paula and showed her. She watched it twice and then looked at me and said she wanted to stay somewhere else while we figured out what to do. We stayed at her sister's for 4 days while the police walked through the house and found no signs of entry, no evidence of anyone having been there. They were thorough and they were kind and they had no explanation for the footage. One officer suggested a camera artifact, a compression glitch. He suggested it without much conviction. A locksmith rekeyed every lock. We had the attic and crawlspace inspected. We did everything practical and it added up to nothing, which is a specific kind of outcome that doesn't resolve the way nothing should. We moved back in. The door hasn't moved since and the corner of the bedroom is just a corner. Marcy goes upstairs again without hesitation, which Paula says means whatever it was is gone. I want to believe her. I mostly do. But I still check the footage every morning before I do anything else. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly, or what I'll do if I find it. I only know that we lived in this house for 6 years before I ever thought to look, and in that time the door moved every night for at least 8 nights that I found, and probably longer before that, and we slept through all of it without knowing. I took the Alderman case because nobody else wanted it. Small town papers run on goodwill and underpayment, and my editor Dale had the particular talent of making assignments sound like opportunities. Carrie Alderman, 26, had walked out of her apartment on a Tuesday evening and not come back. No signs of struggle, no activity on her accounts, no body. 3 weeks gone by the time Dale handed me the folder and said the police had gone quiet and someone should ask why. I started the way I always start: interviews, paper trails, timeline construction. I spoke to Carrie's roommate, her coworker, 2 friends who'd last seen her at a birthday dinner the Thursday before she vanished. I kept everything in a folder on my laptop titled Alderman and backed it up each evening to a cloud drive. By the end of the second week I had 11 documents, transcripts, a timeline, notes on a gray sedan 2 witnesses had separately mentioned seeing outside her building in the weeks before she disappeared. On a Wednesday morning I opened the folder and found 9 documents. The timeline was gone. So were my notes on the sedan. Both files showed as deleted the previous evening at 11:43 p.m. I'd been asleep by 10. I changed my passwords, ran a security scan that found nothing, and reconstructed both files from memory. I told myself it was a sync error. I almost believed it. The following week a neighbor named Greer mentioned, almost to himself, that he'd seen Carrie talking to someone in the parking lot the evening she disappeared. A man he didn't recognize, tall, older, canvas work jacket. Carrie had seemed uncomfortable. I asked why he hadn't told the police. He looked at his hands and said he hadn't wanted to get involved. I drove home and typed up the transcript. In the morning it was gone. I stopped using the cloud drive. I bought an external hard drive, kept it in my bag, and started a handwritten notebook I carried everywhere. I told Dale what was happening. He looked at the deletion logs and said it could be technical, but his face said otherwise. The sedan kept pulling at me. 2 witnesses, unprompted, same vehicle. I tracked down a partial plate from one of them and ran it through a DMV contact, cross-referencing registered owners matching the plate fragment and Greer's description. 3 possibles. I wrote them in my notebook only, nothing digital. 2 days later I arrived at the office to find my laptop open. I had closed and locked it the night before. The external drive was in my desk drawer. I hadn't put it there. Every file had been wiped. I sat at my desk and looked at my notebook, which had been in my coat pocket all night, and understood that whoever had come in had checked my coat, not found it, and wiped the drive instead. They had been inside. They had touched my things. They knew exactly what they were looking for. I took the notebook to the police that afternoon and showed Detective Reyes the 3 names from my DMV search and the deletion logs. He looked at the names for a long time, then made a call in the hallway. One name was Gerald Fetch, 61, former county contractor, gray sedan registered in his wife's name, lived 4 streets from Carrie's apartment. They brought him in 2 days later and found her alive. The prosecutor's office requested my deletion logs as evidence. I'm glad they were useful. What I think about more is the night someone stood over my desk and went through my coat pockets, looking for what I knew. How routine my movements had been. How long that folder had been visible on a screen facing the parking lot window. I vary my routes now. I lock my screen whenever I stand up. Small adjustments that look like paranoia from the outside. From the inside they feel like the minimum a person should do once they understand that the wrong kind of attention is quiet and patient and arrives before you think to look for it.